As the conflict between Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, approaches the one-year mark, the country's women continue to bear the brunt of unimaginable hardships and severe human rights violations. Reporter Angie Omar has this report.
When Sudan's pro-democracy movement led to the removal of President Omar Hassan al-Bashir in 2019, women played a leading role in the revolution for democracy and change. Women have long faced marginalization, harassment, and sexual violence in Sudan, and they made up a significant portion of the protesters. Today, they suffer the brunt of the civil war that began in mid-April last year. More than 6 million people, including some 105,000 pregnant women, have been forced to leave their homes since the war began, according to the United Nations. Out of the 1.2 million people who fled to neighboring countries, almost 90% are women and children. A Khartoum woman, we are referring to her by first name, Hana, for safety reasons, says her life was abandoned when the conflict reached her neighborhood. She tells VOA she was forced to leave her home.
الجثث كانت في الشارع ريحة الجثث.
Bodies were laying on the street, and the stench. Some of the bodies were covered by cardboard, and others were not. I put my son's head down so he doesn't see these scenes, but he could hear his siblings screaming. Women, children, and men were running in different directions. I was just staying with my children. Even my oldest daughter was running and screaming, "Mom, Mom!" Reports from the United Nations have documented violations against women in Darfur, including murder, forced displacement, and rape. Some of the victims were children. The violence is reminiscent of the devastation that occurred in the region 2 decades ago, when more than 200,000 people were killed. The repeated detention of women on false espionage charges or because of their ethnicity has been a serious concern raised by volunteers and human rights organizations. The impact of the conflict on Sudan's education sector has also been devastating, especially for female students. Many girls are at risk of being forced into child marriages or becoming displaced. According to UNICEF, 49% of girls are missing out on primary education. As of 2017, well before the current conflict began, 3 million children have been left out of Sudan's education system. Half of them are girls. Sudan's legal system follows a strict form of Sharia law, which limits the rights of women. Sharia has seeped into Sudanese culture, thus affecting the quality and quantity of girls' education. Huda Shafiq, a feminist peace activist, says the Islamist rule in Sudan has deprived women and girls of their basic human rights.
A big part of the program, we're heavily targeting women in a way that they have founded and changed a lot of laws, for example, that aimed mainly to control women, to really control their working, their access to work opportunities, their access to education opportunities, their existence in the public spaces, in the outside areas, in their engagement in the public life, but also socially and in the workplaces as well.
Displaced women face many challenges, including the loss of their homes, belongings, and personal security. Many have been separated from their families and have been unable to reunite due to the chaos of war. Ihsan Faghiri is a human rights activist and chair of the initiative No to Oppression Against Women in Sudan. She urges awareness be spread across the country about women's rights.
If we spread awareness among women, we need to change all the laws made by Muslim brothers or al-Bashir regime. We need completely to eradicate those and to have another laws which are very consistent with the laws of the international agreements.
The war has severely restricted the freedom of women living with conservative extended families. Strict patriarchal structures and cultural norms limit their movement and how they dress, forcing displaced women to conform and give up their independence. Despite their immense challenges, Sudanese women have shown remarkable resilience. They continue to fight for their rights, advocate for peace, and support their communities. Women continue to protect their children and strive to rebuild their lives. For VOA News, I'm Angie Omar in Cairo, Egypt.